What is up, Earthnoids and Spacenoids? I am just a simple new type, and in this episode, we're returning to the original novel as we continue our journey through Mobile Suit Gundam Awakening. Last time, the Pegasus crew took down Garma, and they made it to Luna 2 to meet the great General Revel. Amado was promoted to ensign, and Frau Bo told Amado that she Aishtaru. This time, Gihren gives his eulogy speech during Garma's funeral. Char heads to Flanagan's Institute and meets with Lala, and Amado and the team prep for Operation Star 1. So let's get into this. The burdens of leadership show on Daegwonzabi's face as he appears older than he actually is. But over the past 10 years, his son Gihren has assumed power. He resigned to appease the Daikun faction, but in doing so made his own faction appear weak. Because of this, the Xi'an Assembly was formed. This new organization ran by Gihren drastically reduced Daegwon's power and turned him into merely a puppet of his former self. He listens to a message that Garma sent him a few days before he was killed in action. He had hopes that Garma would be the leader that Gihren could never be. Kycilia comes to bring him to speak to the people. She's merely herding him around to keep their subjects happy. He heads out to make his eulogy to thousands of young Xi'an soldiers ready to die for their country, all while sitting behind a giant gaudy portrait of Garma. This level of political worship isn't the Xi'an that he wanted to build. He sees this as a regression of new types and uses Prime Minister Jarchia Bakurov as an example. He is a natural-born leader. He is empathetic and is loved by the people. But even now, he toes the line for Xi'an, and he thinks that his new type abilities are stunted. I like that the novel shows that there are more to new types than just being a super soldier. As Daegwon gives his eulogy, Kycilia and Dozel bicker about Char. Kycilia is now using Char for her needs after Dozel dropped him for failing to protect Garma. It is Giren's turn to make his speech. He starts his speech praising Daikun. We, the people of Xi'an, are the chosen people, and we must never consider giving into Federation corruption. Never forget Xianzun Daikun, the hero and founder of our nation. Gihren hates that he has to use Daikun's name to rile up the people. Even though the Zabis lead, they are still living in the shadows of Daikun. Sometime after Garma's death, Dozel kicked Char from the Mobile Assault Force. Shortly after, he was visited by Kycilia and offered him the rank of commander. She is aware that he is close to the Flanagan Institute and wants to send him to the colony Balda on Side 6 to negotiate with Flanagan about using her. She gives him the newly made Zanzibar-class ship that is superior to the Musai in speed and strength. For the last 6 months, Kycilia has been working with Dr. Flanagan to create the Psychomu. Of course, he already knew this. She also wants him to deliver a mobile armor to the Institute. At this point, Char has never heard of a mobile armor. This unit happens to be the Elmith. Char has no problem with this mission because it gives him the opportunity to see Lala once again. He hates the obsession with protocol, so much so that he wished that they would have promoted him to captain. He likes that Kycilia is thinking ahead and considering new type units. Char takes off for Side 6. He meets with Chief Engineer Lieutenant Muramasa, who shows him the Elmith. It has no arms and legs and resembles an old-school aircraft. Side 6 is a neutral colony, but behind the scenes, they are a Xi'an puppet. Once Xi'an wins the war, Side 6 will be used as a sort of transitional colony, or more specifically, it will be the Ellis Island colonies as they force humanity into space. During the 1-week war, Xi'an spared Side 6 from destruction, unlike Loom, which is why they are under Xi'an's heel. He meets with Dr. Flanagan and asks how Lala is doing. He had always sensed that she has the potential to do great things. He pats himself on the back for his hunch being correct. Flanagan mentions that he too may be a new type. He tells the doctor that he doesn't believe in new types and that he is just trying to do his mission. Flanagan consents that he doesn't believe that, and Char seems to be hyper-focused on something. He in fact does know that new types are the future and wouldn't have entrusted Flanagan with Lala if that were the case. He knows that new types will help in his goals towards toppling the Zabi. The Flanagan Institute is currently just a think tank, but it is on track to becoming an intelligence weapon for the military. That is when Lala comes in and greets Char. Char realizes that Flanagan plans on using her to pilot the Elmith. Char is annoyed and wants to make a comment, but Lala knows what he wants to say and tells him not to. He then asks about data on new types on whether or not being a virgin makes a difference. What a weird comment. But this makes Flanagan certain that he is indeed a new type. What an even weirder reaction to that comment. We learn that Lala and her family escaped Side 5 during the destruction of Loom. Her family later died from other circumstances. She is a second-generation Spacenoid, and the pain and suffering from barely surviving the Battle of Loom is most likely what activated her new type potential. The doctor watches Char and Lala's interaction and realizes they have a deep bond. Char learns about Psychomu tech, but he wants to see a test. Flanagan states that negative stimulation does affect the user's effect on the Psychomu. They tested this with Lala and animals. Char says, that's weird. Hey Lala, how many dead animals did this asshole make you get a hold of to get this data? She says, oh, I held so many dead rabbits. Dr. Flanagan seems more like a mad scientist in this novel. They finally get the Psychomu up and running, and Lala is able to make a test bit hover. Gihren has loaned an Elmeth simulator for Lala to use. She has already become an ace pilot in the simulator in no time. Later, after running tests, Char invites Lala to the dining hall. She is now under Char's command, assigned the rank of ensign. His other mission is to turn this Flanagan student into a hardened Zeon soldier. They were not the only ones in the dining hall. In the room are other researchers who are watching a broadcast of Gihren continuing his speech. Lala isn't too hungry and just orders juice. He apologizes to her for what the scientists probably did to her in the name of data, but she seems fine with it considering her past and what she had to go through until she was eventually picked up by Zeon. She's just happy that she gets to work with Char. Lala stares at Char knowing that she wants him to take off his mask. Gihren's speech is over and everyone else has left. He takes his mask off to reveal a giant scar running down his face. He tells him that it was an accident that happened in a fencing duel with Garma. Of course, this was a lie. He in fact gave himself the scar before entering the military academy. This was to hide his facial features that closely resemble Zeon Daikun. It also gives him an excuse to wear the mask. He says that this is the most romantic he will probably ever get. Look at my ugly scar, look at it! Lala is happy. I guess the scar does it for her. Zeon soldiers cheer on as Gihren finishes his speech. Amado is watching the funeral and says, Was that us? Did we do this? Shit, I think we killed him. The news broadcast mentions that it was in part due to the Pegasus-class ship. Bright scoffs at the zombies who took Daikum's beliefs and turned it into a dictatorship. They are prepping to leave Luna 2 in 2 hours. The rest of the fleet has received the new gems, but the gun tanks and Gundam on board the Pegasus are superior, so they will be acting as a vanguard during Operation Star 1. Amado video calls Frau Bo to say his goodbyes. She knows he is a soldier, but Frau still tells him to be careful. She says he will be waiting for her. Because of the lack of manpower in this version, it has been hard to find mechanics to help with repairs. Hayato and others are constantly trying to bend backwards just to keep their mobile suits functioning. All pilots are in charge of their own cleanup and refueling, and are stretched thin. Cleanup is apparently a crucial job as the catapult is super fragile, and a single screw left on the deck can cause catastrophic damage. Things are quite hectic. Someone accidentally leaves the comms on for everyone to hear while Slugger Law, who was recently assigned to the Pegasus, and Bright start to squabble. It is assumed by the crew that Bright gave Slugger a good slapping. The 13th Autonomous Corps finally sets sail. The Pegasus leaves with a Magellan-class ship, the Hall, along with 2 Salamis-class ships, the Cisco and the Saffron. They also have 6 Public-class ships for added defense. Bright finally tells them that they are planning on taking out Granada. They will attack Solomon in tandem and eventually push their way towards Zeon's homeland. The first stage of this mission is to head to Texas Colony to draw out the Granada fleet. Ryu recognizes that they are going to be acting as bait in this operation. For 77 years, there has been peace, but the violence caused by Zeon is no different than the warmongers of the old century. They kinda don't understand why Revel created this so-called new type autonomous corps, when dictators tend to undermine the value of life, whether or not they are new types. The team begins training exercises as they head towards the Texas zone. Ryu acts as the leader since he is the oldest, but he seems to want to focus on being more of a gun cannon specialist rather than acting as a point man. Some gems from the Hall join the training exercise. They all work together to do mock attacks on the Cisco. They are exhausted from drilling non-stop. There is a technical manual for the Federation mobile suits that is said to be taken from a stolen Zaku manual. But this is the first time they documented mobile suit military strategy and training. This is all kind of new to them. A Lieutenant Commander Rudolph Ramsky tells them that they are being put in a position that most haven't experienced. They are effectively acting as test pilots during live battles, as mobile suits are still relatively new to the Federation. Kai and Amado talk about Sayla's looks. Amado says she is pretty, but he hates her voice. Aquafina is Sayla Mass. Make it happen, Legendary Pictures. Amado briefs the crew on Char. They wonder if he is one of these new types. They continue discussing battle tactics for hours. The Texas Zone is named after Texas Colony, as it was the only Side 5 colony to survive the Battle of Loon. Like in origin, Texas Colony was built after the American West, and a place for rich spacenoids to go camping. Those who survived fled the colony, and Zeon seized all the cattle after the Battle of Loon. In origin, Texas Colony survived because Sayla was on the colony, and he wanted to protect her. At Granada, Cassilia is being attacked. She gets reinforcements to help out in the Texas Zone. This includes Captain Makuve's squadron. Char is a higher rank than Makuve in this version. Makuve ledings his Chinese vase while getting mad at Char for not being able to save Garma Zalvi. And that will do it for this episode. We get to see the bond between Char and Lala actually develop in this novel. We didn't quite get the Makuve and the Texas Zone, but next time we will see the Battle at Texas play out. Also, Sayla finds out that Amado is a virgin. Ooh, we're about to get into the weird sexual parts that Tomino puts in these novels. Gets weird, but that will do it for now, new types. Remember, your new type virginal status may or may not affect your new type powers. Peace.